intro. I had none. Okay, so today is yet another big day. When you learn array lists kind of open your eyes to a lot of different things you can do. And we talked about how array lists you can grow and shrink. And then I showed you Apple Music, and I asked you to think about Facebook and Snapchat and pretty much anything like that uses an array list so that you can add friends, add music, delete friends, delete music, and so on. And so today, we're going to get even more tools in our tool belt, because right now, in your array list, you can put a string, and you can put an integer, and you can put a character, and all that stuff. And that's great, but if I'm going to make a program that tracks my music or tracks my friends, then let's think about Instagram for a second, because I believe most of you have heard of Instagram. And if you're on Instagram, actually, I'm gonna feel foolish here. What do you do on Instagram? Do you follow people? Do you have friends? How's it work? You follow people. So you would have a list, or you would have an array list of all of the people that you follow. And if you click on one of those people, it's not like it's just a string. If I am following Rias and I click on Rias, I would see what? I'm asking here, actually. I'd see probably his profile picture, I would hope. What? I don't know why I chose him as an example. I would see Rias' profile picture. I would probably see his handle. I would see all of the things that he's posted, unless he's made it private, right? But what I'm pointing out here is it's not like I just see Rias' name as a string. So in the world of Instagram, Rias is not a string. It would be like a person with all kinds of different things associated with it. And you've seen examples like this already. For example, in your Greenfoot games, a counter shows something on the screen, but a counter is not an integer. A counter can show an integer, but it has a color, it has a shape, it has a font, it has all kinds of stuff associated with it. And so when you start to get into big programs, you can't just use the variables that are given to you, like string and char. Like those primitives and non-primitives are handy, but we need the ability to make our own classes. And that's what we're going to learn today. And in Greenfoot, you've been doing this already without me really telling you what you were doing. But I'm going to make a new project called Humane Society example, because that's what I want you to think about as we go through this. So I posted this online, and this is what I want you to do, but I'm going to do it kind of with you, because this is the first time you've ever seen this, and the first time you see it, it can be a little bit complicated, but that's okay. And what we're going to do is we are going to create a dog class. So I want you to imagine that you have been hired by the Humane Society, and you are responsible for making a database of all of the dogs that they have there. Cats, we're not worried about. We're just talking about dogs right now, okay? And so your job is to think of a way to track everything they have. In this example, too, not only are we going to, we actually got our cat from the Humane Society, and we still get calls from the Humane Society saying, hey, it's time to renew your license, or hey, do you want to buy something, or whatever. So you want to log whether or not that dog is currently at the Humane Society, or if they've been adopted and they are now living at someone else's home. So that's what we're after here. So tracking a dog, in the past, you would have gone, okay, well, that's going to be a string, because every dog has a name. So we'll just make an array list of strings. But what I'm getting at here is it's not good enough. We need a way to describe the dog. So all of these things, and I've just picked 5, we could go on and on and on, are the things that describe a dog for our example. Every dog is going to have a different breed, a different name, a different age, a different fur color, and then something to indicate whether it's been adopted or not. But these are the things that describe each dog. These are the things that make each dog different. So our class, remember, does anybody remember what I said a class was like? Because I have done this in Greenfoot. I said I've given an analogy that the class is like something. A blueprint. A class is like a blueprint. What do you do with a blueprint? Tyler? Sorry? True, read it. And then what do you do, Bryce? You build whatever it is. If I have a blueprint for a house, it means I have the instructions to make a house. And I can make as many of those homes as I want. If I have a recipe for a cookie, I can make as many cookies as I want. Right? And so what we're about to do is we are going to build a recipe. This is going to sound weird. For a dog. We are about to build a blueprint to describe what a dog would look like in our virtual world of programming. Okay, so we are about to build our own class, kind of sort of for the first time. In the past, what I've said is we're going to make a class, and I'm going to call this one just main with a capital M. And in here, I've told you, let's wipe everything out. And in here, we're going to put those magic words. Have you guys memorized them yet? What are they? Okay, try. This is when you're supposed to talk. Public, void, class, main, Owen, stream, what? I lost it. String, args. You've got a lot of it right. You're missing one word, though, that you may or may not have. I had it yesterday when I put on my clothes, and they were all sticking to me. Yeah, static. So public, static, void. You don't need class. Main, string. So let's just stop for 1 second and make sure that everybody remembers what this is, because you've probably been typing it a lot, but what is that exactly? Does anybody remember why that's special? One person knows why they've been doing it. Just Xander. Okay, Xander goes.
That's the method inside the main class that the program runs.
Right. So in the world of Java, when I compile and then I say, okay, let's run the program, I have to say, please go and run that main. So anything I put in here is what's going to happen in my program. Okay? So this is the class that we have that's going to kind of run. This is the one where it's going to actually work. Now, I'm going to make another, and I'm going to call it dog. And a while back, I kind of started talking about how when you make a class, it gives you a whole bunch of stuff. It gives you this up here, and it gives you this here, and it gives you this here. And now we're ready to talk about that. This is BlueJ trying to help you by saying, okay, here's where you're going to put your instance variables of a dog. Here's where you're going to put your constructor. In fact, it's already built it for you for a dog. And here's an example of a method for a dog. And so I'm just going to do a quick little replacement here. All classes that we make like this are broken into these sections. We have methods at the bottom. We have constructor, and I'm going to do that, and I'll explain that in a bit. So I'm not doing anything more than what they already did. I'm just trying to make it a little more evident. Instance variables. What does AKA stand for? Also known as. So I have 3 distinct sections in my class. Whatever I put up here are the variables, also known as characteristics, that are going to be identified in a dog. So every dog, the way I have it right now, every dog would have its own X variable. Now that obviously, that doesn't have any meaning for what we're doing. That's just a sample. What I said here is that every dog needs a breed, a name, an age, a fur color, and an adopted. That's where I put this stuff here. So I'm going to say private. So every dog has a breed. What data type do you think breed would be? Owen? Right. Every dog has a name. What data type do you think name would be? Yep. Integer? You're going to name your dog 12? You could. I mean, hey, sure. You can name your dog whatever you want, but most people are going to give their dog a name that is a string. I think you were doing age, which, yes. Now, age, let's stop for a minute. Is it an integer? Yeah. Okay, so we got a couple questions on the table. First of all, would it be int, or would it be integer, or would it be double, or would it be capital double? So we got 4 choices here. What do you think? James? I think so. Capital int? That's not even a choice, man. Capital integer. Okay. Which is where you're recording? Yeah. Thank you. So for this one, you would have to actually go back to the people who want you to build this and say, okay, well, do you want a dog to be allowed to be 11.6 years old? Or do you just want to round it off? So for us, we're going to round it off. Let's do integer. Now the question is, am I going to do integer or am I going to do int? What do you think? Remember what we talked about yesterday or the day before about the difference between the two. What would be better for our program here? 3 people who have already done the answering of the questions. Come on, folks, get involved. Dan. Okay. Do we want to save space or not? Good question. Do we want to save space or not? Let's say, yeah, we do. And also, by the way, it's not all about space. It's also about how fast the program runs. And so in this case, I think what you're getting at is that the primitive int is going to be less space and it will run faster. So I think that would be what we want to do. Also know that if you have a primitive int and later down the line in your coding somewhere you want to change it to a non-primitive integer, you can do that. So it's not like you're making a final decision here. So that, I think, is a good choice. Fur color. Int? String. And watch how I type this. And I'm going to ask my grade 12s if they've seen that and what it's called. Do you remember what that's called, that style of writing? I told you yesterday. What is it? It's true, you are grade 12. Sorry, I meant, okay, the people who have taken the grade 12 course is what I meant. Okay, I'm going to stop talking. No, he stole his thunder. This is called camel case. When we are making a variable starts with a small letter, and then if you have like a distinct word, like this is clearly fur collar, like that, you can't put a space in a variable. And so what you do is you write the first word all small, and then the next word starts with a capital, like that. So I'd like you to start doing that, please. Camel case your variables. Yes? You will be, yeah, as we kind of grow as programmers. Like, no, not like for the, if you're thinking, oh, I got to go back and change all my variables. No, you don't. But for the future, it is better to write your variables in camel case. Okay. And then it says adopted, and this one here. What do you think about that one? Like, what data type is that one going to be? String, int, car. What do you? Sarah. Well done. Boolean. And what would you like to name it? What did you say? Okay. Same hands. Same hands. Tyler. Ooh. Look at you. Why did you put is in front of it, Tyler? Good. So Boolean variables are often, they start with is, because it's kind of like you're asking a question, right? If it's true, that means they're adopted. If it's false, it means they're not adopted. So there you go. That's us describing all the things that would represent a dog. And in your program, like when you see programs update all the time on your phone, you get the, update this program. Updates happen when people think of other things. Like if I go, oh, a dog should also have I don't have a dog. What else would a dog have? Eyeballs? Really? Eyeballs? Sarah? Yeah, gender, right? So you could go gender. That's a good one. Anything else you think of that describes a dog could go here. And so as you want to make your program better, you can add more. Okay? So that leaves us there. A constructor. We have talked about constructors quite a bit. Remind me what a constructor is. Does anyone think they can give me a decent definition for a constructor? For the record, the same people are putting up their hands and the same people are not putting up their hands. Rias has put up his hand before. All right, Rias. Very good. So whatever we put here is only going to happen once when the dog is created. So when users create a dog object, they must include the breed or the breed and the name, but they don't have to include the other stuff right away. So what that means is if somebody tries to create a new dog object, they have to have the name for sure, like it says here, or sorry, the breed. They have to have the breed for sure, and then they could also have the name at the same time. That's why we have that S in brackets. This is going to be new to you. In your Greenfoot games, you have a constructor. You have a constructor. But it is possible to have multiple constructors, like this. So when someone makes a dog, I'm going to give them the ability to include a piece of information that I can call anything I want. I'm going to call it B. And then in the constructor, I am going to assign the value of B to the variable breed. That's it. So what this says is that when someone makes a dog, if they include one string parameter, that string parameter is going to become the breed of this particular dog. So that is one constructor. Here, is another. Does anybody know what that's saying? Let me do this one for you again. Listen to my words. This says that someone has the ability to create a dog object using only one string parameter. If they only include one string parameter, it's going to become the breed. So what does this constructor say? Yes, Owen?
So the first string would be the breed and the second one would be the name.
Right. So with this one, when they try to create a dog, if they include two strings, the first one would become the breed, and the second one would become the name. Okay? Now, if, what would happen to age and fur color and adopted? And the answer is they would have default values. When you create an age, it would automatically be a 0. The fur color would be just blank. And the Boolean, I think the default for Boolean, I think is, oh, I don't even know. I gotta look that up. Is it false? However, what we can do in our program is we can say that dogs, typically if we're adding them to the database of the Humane Society, they are probably not yet adopted. So I can put this code in both constructors to say the default value of is adopted is going to be false. And I could do that for age too. I could say, but I don't think I want to do that because I don't want to just assume there's a default age or a default fur color. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, that means you could make a dog where you have a breed, a name, is adopted, and then these are just going to get left blank. How would you set these? Anyone have any thoughts on that? Yep.
Well, the user's gonna make a dog age like it is a string B and string N, put it in there.
Say that again, sorry.
Because the user's gonna make a dog, he can do whatever he can make it whatever they want. So you can just put the A and source color in like height of string B and string N.
Yes.
That.
Yeah.
Or you could do like that.
Well, you can have one constructor. You can have two constructors. Can you have more constructors? So you could, and I didn't ask for this in this little assignment here that I'm kind of doing with you for you, but you could also make another constructor and say, well, if the user has all of the information at the time, then I can do something like this. So what I have now is I have 1, 2, 3 different constructors. So if I'm entering data for the dog, and at the time all I know is the breed, because someone brought in this dog off the streets, we don't know anything about it, we just know it's a husky, okay, then I can put it in the database, and I can fill in this other stuff later. If I know the breed and the name, well, I have that option too. And if I have everything, well, I have that option too. So there are 3 different ways here to create a dog object. So since that is not in the assignment, I'm going to take that out, and it is in the video, so you can go back and look at it, but I don't want to confuse, so I'll take that out. So there we go, constructors. I now have those 2 constructors done. And then it says methods. The dog class should have the following methods. Now, you look at this, and this looks like a lot. These, what do they all have in common? Owen? They all set one of the variables. And these, what do these have in common? Yeah? They will get you the value of a variable. So I'm going to make these, but what you're going to see is it's very similar for each one. The first method says set breed, where the user can change or set the breed variable. Remember return values? Would that method have a return value? If you're making a method that will change the value of a variable, will that have a return value?
I have to return the existing.
No. I mean, you could, but it wouldn't make a lot of sense. Typically, these sets here, they don't have return values. So when I write that method, I'm going to have public void set breed, and then I'm going to do something in here. All right, see if you guys can help me out. How would I finish this code? And I just want to set the breed to be whatever the user wants it to be. Say that again? You do, but that's going to be when we get into our main method. You'll see what I mean. And I'm looking around the room and I feel like I'm losing people. Hopefully this will make more sense when I get into the main. Because right now I'm just writing the blueprint for the dog. How is the dog going to work? We're going to have to put some code in the main to make it work, and you'll see what I mean, I hope. Maybe for that reason, I'm just going to keep going here for a second and you can fight through this. When I do set breed, well, I have to set the breed to whatever the user has decided to give me. So that means I need to have a parameter here saying the user is going to include the breed. And so in the method, all I'm going to do is say breed equals B. So the breed, the variable here, is going to become whatever the user has included. The rest of the sets, once I've done one, paste, 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 paste. And I got set name, change that to an N, change that to name, change that to N. Set age is going to be different because it's an int. Set FC for fur color, string FC, FC for color. And then the last one is set adopted. And this one is going to take a Boolean that we can call, and this here is the name of the parameter. We can call it anything we want to, so I'll just leave it. I can leave it at B, and basically the isAdopted variable is going to become the value of B. So these methods just allow the user to change or set the value of all the variables that make up a dog. Now, here come the gets. Now, the gets are a little bit different because you don't need to include information to get a variable. If I want to ask the age, I don't need to include the age when I ask for it. I just go public, and then I think about what kind of variable are we going to get out of this? What data type are we going to get out of this? Page? A string. So when I ask for the breed, it's going to have no parameters. It's going to return a string. And does anybody know the single line of code that I'm going to put there? Go for it, James. You're so close. If I do a system.out.println, it's going to print it to the screen. What I want to do here is I want to actually return a value. Maya? You're so close. She said return B. So close. What I want to do is return the value of the variable that represents the breed. Which one of these is that? Page? Breed. So it's just not B that I want to return. It's breed, like that. That's it. So then, if I go here, and I say get name, all I'm doing is returning the name. And then to do age, I change that to int, get age, return age. Get a fur color. What was it? It was fur color, right? Yeah. And then the last one. I guess I'll call it get adopted. I kind of want it to match with the other one. Yeah, set adopted, get adopted. Is adopted. Okay. So now I have all of these done from here all the way down to here. Sorry, are done. And then I have one other method that I want to write that says bark, where the word woof is spit out to the screen. For that one, what James said is going to be right. public void bark system.out.println. Why is it right to put a system.out.println here? Does anybody know? How come these ones, we're doing these return thingies, but this one here it says system.out.println woof? No one? It's not that there's no variable. It's there's something in over here that told me that I should do it this way. It says spit out to the screen. So spit out to the screen means you're going to actually do a system.out.println. I think there's one more. Yeah, there is one more here at the bottom, but I'm not going to do this right now because I'm losing you guys, and I'm aware of that. So I want to show you, now that we've written a class, how do we use it? So remember, all we've done at this point is we have actually created a blueprint. We have made a recipe, but we don't have the cookie yet. So now, before I go into there, when you get a question that says make your own class, that's what we've just done. We've made our own class that represents a dog the way we want to represent a dog because we're the ones writing a program. Now, what I want to do is create a list of dogs. So now I'm here. In a separate class, you're going to create a public static void main, which we already did, and we're going to create an array list that will be used to hold a collection of dog objects. Think along the lines of how the Humane Society might track their animals. Then, you're going to create 3 new dogs that have the following characteristics. Does anybody think they might know how to make an array list that's going to hold dogs? I'll give you a hint. Yesterday you learned how to make an array list that holds strings or integers. And this is absolutely no different. Okay, Xander.
Array list and the pony bracket, dog, close pony bracket, and name it equals new dog.
New dog?
Oh, sorry, new array list, pony bracket, dog.
Now, we just did array list yesterday. I don't expect that many people are going to know that syntax yet. But what I've done here is I've told the computer I'm going to make an array list that's going to hold dog objects. Not strings, not integers, dogs. You guys look so sad and bored. It's making me... I feel like a bad teacher right now, just for the record. But this... If you fully understand, once you fully understand, and I remember being at St. Lawrence College, sitting in a course on C programming, where they were actually explaining classes and objects, and that was the most lost I've ever felt in a course. So I hope I'm not making you feel like that. But if you fully understand sort of what's going on here, this is the most powerful moment in programming because you start to go, wait a minute, you're telling me I can make any class I want. And yes, that's true. You can now think, wait a minute, so I could have like a friend class. I could have a music class. So you can now think, I can make any program I want because I'm not limited to strings and cars and booleans. You can do anything you want to. So in this case, we're making a little list of dogs, but this applies to anything. You can have lists of, aliens and lists of, Fortnite dances or whatever, right? This is how they do it. And so this is very powerful. Now, let's make a dog. Here's how we're going to do that. Hey, computer, I'm going to make a dog. I'm going to call it D1. Then, I'm going to invoke the constructor. And I have a husky named Rex. Now, if you'll remember, The only constructors we have here are these. So I'm going to use this constructor, which means I'm going to include two strings. The first one, the breed, the second one, the name, and yes, the order matters. So the first one's B, which is going to become breed. The next one's N, which is going to become name. Husky, Rex. Okay. Moment of truth. This will create a dog object, and the name will become Rex, and the breed will become Husky. Does anybody think they know how to make the age 3? I love the way you put up your hand. It's just a slow build. I got 2 people who think they might know. 2 going once. 2.5 maybe. 2.78. Owen.
Maybe you go into your dog class, and in that constructor, you would add age to it.
That is not wrong. That's good. I could go into the constructor and I could make another constructor that handles more stuff. That's right. But based on the assignment that I've given, I'm not going to do that. There's another way. And unfortunately, it happened when most of you were falling asleep. Watch this. Sorry, Xander, I do see you. D1 dot. We made the dog class. We're the ones who made the methods. We can now use those methods. And one of those methods says that we can set the age to whatever we want. And another one of those methods says that we can set the fur color to whatever we want. Say what now? Oh, thank you. Actually, that would give me an error. See? Because a get is not supposed to have a parameter. That's what that says in computer speak. And then the false here, do I need to set that? Oh, you guys, did I screw that up or did you? No. We told you. I did. Oh, I am? I did it? Woo! So it's not about the attendance? All right, losing trouble. Sure. Okay, bye. Ridiculous. It's like that moment when you're driving and the cop car comes on behind you and then they go by you because it's not you. It wasn't me. Just for the record, I did my attendance. Do I need to set this to false? Right. So because I did this, the default is false, so I don't need to set that to false. So now that I've done this, I can make another dog, and I can name it, no, it's a poodle named Bobo, whose age is 5, and fur is black. And in this case, do I need to set the other variable? So I go D, be careful, D2, dot set. And I can type them, but like I said, it's easier to do this and go set adopted to true. So in this example that we're doing, this would mean that Bobo got adopted. Way to go, Bobo. And then the last one would be D3, German Shepherd. So what's important, and where people get confused sometimes, is that when I am actually creating dog objects, and that's what I'm doing, I'm not objectifying dogs, but that's what we say, we're creating dog objects, we do that in the main part of the program. This part is only to identify what a dog is supposed to be. All the variables, the constructors, all the methods. We don't mess with that. Here is where we actually do all the creating of the dog. And I don't need that because Lola has not been adopted yet. Okay, so now I have an array list. I have D1, which is a dog object. I have D2, which is a dog object. I have D3, which is a dog object. What do I now want to do? You're on fire today. That's good. Aiden? So we have to, I think you said we have to output the dog information? But before we do that, we got to do one thing first. It says, once you put the dogs in the array list. So I have not put the dogs in the list yet. All I've done is I've made these dog objects. How do I put a dog in the list? Sarah? Very good. See, there you go. AL dogs is an array list. And look, it says right here that I can add a dog. So I want to add D1. And then I want to add D2 and D3. And now I have 3 dogs in my array list. Okay, now if I do this. What's that loop attempting to do? What's that loop attempting to do? Tyler. Like that? Yeah. So what's that loop attempting to do? So that says I, and that says I. Paige? Right. So it's going to try to print out each dog. Do you think it's going to work? Xander? Yeah. And by the way, before we go too much, look, see how there's this link here? So this says now that the main is using this dog class. So if I right-click on main, remember, you can't run the dog class. There's nothing in there to run. There's no main. You can only run the main which uses the dog class. So if I run the main, Xander, why? We know what a dog is. We understand what we want to do when we print out a dog object. But a computer doesn't. A computer just knows that we're making this class. And so we've made these objects, and the computer is doing its best to spit out the information it has about the object. But it doesn't know that what we really want is the breed and the name and all that stuff, right? So it can't do that. What we can do, if we go I dot, remember, I is a dog. As we go through the loop, I represents each dog. If I say system.out.println I.bark, does anyone, oh wait, what? Oh yeah, you're right. Sorry. If I were to do this, woof, woof. Okay, and if I were to, in this case, I had to take out the system.out.println because I actually included it here. So all I've done is I said, hey, dog, bark. If I were to do this, if I were to get the name of the dog, now I would have to do a system.out.println to spit it out to the screen. So if I've done everything right, we should see the name of each of the dogs. And the other thing that I had here, which I might as well do, and then I'll give you your break, says, write some code that goes through the list. Oh, it was here that I didn't. So get info. I wanted you to do another one called get info. So I can go back to the main or the dog class. And I say, oh, I want to make another method. I would like a way to summarize all of the information about a dog. So I'm going to make a method called get info. And it's going to return a string. And all it's going to do is take all those variables and put them together nicely. It's going to go name, and then spit out the name variable. And then, what was the character to do a new line? Breed. And I can kind of copy that format once I have it done. I deleted the what? Oh, thank you. What was left? Fur color? Thank you. So I'm going to make a string called summary, and that's equal to all that stuff. So the literal name, and then it should give the name, go to a new line, breed, age, fur color. But I'm going to do one other thing here. I'm going to put a new line character here. And then I'm going to do an if statement. If is adopted Sorry, I'm struggling with my typing here. Why is it stalling? What am I doing here? Does anyone know? Mod? So if this works properly, it's going to spit out all the information, and then we're going to check that is adopted variable. If it's true, and by the way, if you're thinking, how come Mr. Swain isn't doing this? With Booleans, all you have to do is this. So that means if is adopted is true, it's going to do this. If you want to do false, you would do that. So if is adopted is true, it's going to add name has been adopted. Otherwise, it's going to add name has not been adopted. Yep. Yeah, it is. But if you want to explain ternary variables, I'll let you do that. No, don't do that. We'll get to that maybe. So I go back here, and now instead of having to choose what I want to do, I can just go system.out.println I dot, and I should have a get info now. There it is. So let's see if it worked. Name, Rex, breed, husky, age 3. Rex has not been adopted yet. Bobo, poodle, 5. Bobo has been adopted. There we go. Looks like it's working. Okay. So I know, yeah, 50 minutes. It's a long recording. If you're still awake, good for you. But what you've seen now is that you have the ability to create anything you want. Dogs, anything. And then you can make an array list of those things, and you can add and subtract to it, show information, make your own methods, all that kind of stuff. Okay? And my timing's not bad. I said I'd go to 9:45, which takes you right to break. So, what I would like from all of you is I would like you to do this. I would like you to do what I've done, but I don't want you to do it now. I would like you to basically mimic what I've done, so you can watch this video and just to prove to yourself that you know how to type it all up and the syntax and everything, do it. But this is where we're going to be headed in the future. Okay? So, yes, I would like you to do the assignment, but do it after Friday. So, take a break. You can come back, work in your Greenfoot games.